So there's some link between stimulus and response. So let's talk about story of Viktor Frankel. He was a psychiatrist and a Jew, and he was a determinist raised in a tradition of Freudian psychology, which postulates that whatever happens to you as a child shapes your character and personality, basically governs your entire life. Postulates means suggest. So which postulate or whatever happens to you as a child shapes your character, personality, basics govern your whole life. So here we are talking about the Viktor Frankl, who was raised in a tradition of Freudian psychology. He was a psychiatrist and Jews, and he was imprisoned in death camps of Nazi Germany. His brother, his parents, his wife died in the camps or were sent to the gas ovens, except for his sister. His entire family perished. Frankel himself suffered torture, innumerable indignities, never knowing from one moment to the next if his path would lead to the ovens. One day, naked and alone in a room, he began to become aware of what he later called the last of the human freedoms, the freedom his Nazi captors could not take away. They could control his environment, they could do what they wanted to his body, but Viktor Frankl himself was self-aware being who could look as an observer at his very environment. His basic identity was intact. He could decide within himself how all of his was going to affect it, between what happened to him or the stimulus and his response to it was his freedom of power or to choose that response. In the midst of his experience, Frankel would project himself into different circumstances, such as lecturing to his student after the release from the death camps. He would describe himself in the classroom in his mind's eye and gave his student the lesson was dreaming, was learning during the very torture. Through the series of such discipline, mental, emotional, moral, principally using memory and imagination, he exercised his small embryonic freedom until it grew larger and larger, until he had more freedom than the Nazi captors. They had more liberty, more option to choose from in their environment, but he had more freedom, more internal power to exercise his options. He became an inspiration to those around him and even to some of the guards. He helped others find meaning in their suffering and dignity in their prison existence. In the midst of the most degrading circumstances imaginable, Frank used the human endowment of the self-awareness to discover a fundamental principle about the nature of the man between stimulus and response. Man has a freedom to choose. With the freedom to choose are those endowments that make us uniquely human. In addition to self-awareness, we have imagination, the ability to clear in our mind beyond our personal reality. We have conscience, a deep inner awareness right to wrong, of the principle that govern our behavior in the sense of a degree to which our thoughts, actions are in harmony with them, and we have independent will, the ability to act based on our self-awareness free of all other influence. So because of our unique human endowments, we are different from animal and we can write new programs for ourselves totally apart from instinct and training. That is why an animal capacity is relatively limited and man's is unlimited. So between stimulus and response is our greatest power, the freedom to choose.